In the summer of 2012, director Steve McQueen and his crew went down to Louisiana to adapt the incredible memoir of Solomon Northup, 12 Years a Slave. The movie ended up being nominated for 9 Academy Awards and won 3, including 2014's Best Picture. We recently mapped out and traveled to as many spots from the movie that we could find, including several that are close to the public. So stick around for those and join us as we go to the movies.
The story of Solomon Northup is a man from Saratoga getting kidnapped around the DC area and being sold into slavery in Louisiana. All that takes place in the movie, but it is not shot all over the country. It's all shot in and around New Orleans, including this flashback scene to Saratoga when he and his wife and kids are shopping. And you can see the same doors, the garage, the windows still match up. The only difference is they made it look like it was 1800s. You see his wife and daughter walking towards the store, same direction Virginia is. He stops and talks to his son for a second, and then they catch up and walk across the street, made up a little bit of CGI in the background maybe. They walk across the street here and you see these doors, but it's set up to look like shops. And then I believe the store they walk into was right here. It looks like they probably built a facade in between these two buildings. And they would have walked in right about where that no parking sign is. Okay, I'm standing in approximately the area where they filmed the scene where Solomon meets the musicians before going down to DC. I found this place because I wanted to find that gazebo, and I put it in the Ask NOLA subreddit, and someone said, that gazebo is not there, but I can see, which I didn't even notice this in the movie, but you can see this building, which is part of Loyola, sticking out in the background right beside Solomon's head. And we've been walking around for a while, and we're in the middle of a golf course, dodging golf balls, so this is probably the closest I'm going to get to lining that shot up, but this is the park, Audubon Park, in the middle of the golf course. Somewhere is the exact spot, but this is approximately the spot where they filmed that scene where he meets the musicians. We're at the Columns Hotel in New Orleans on St. Charles Street. I believe that's the name of the street. Right here on the streetcar line, if you look across, you see the exact shot when he gets out of the carriage and goes in with the musicians into the hotel where they get him drunk, and it ends up leading to his kidnapping. So we're going to go in there and see if we can see the dining room, see the staircase, and see if any of the employees remember anything about the filming. This is the room in the Columns where they were having dinner. They kept giving Solomon more and more wine until he was drunk enough to pass out. Then they carry him up to the bedroom. You can see the columns there and the fireplace still the same. Now we'll go look at the stairs. It's so dark in here you can barely see it, but this is the staircase where they brought Solomon up the stairs. You can see those windows in the background, and they've changed. You can street view inside of this building on Google, and it still looks just the same as in the movie. But it looks like they've removed the carpet from the stairs, they changed the windows here. But this is where they carried him up, brought him up this direction, and back this way. This is Madame John's Legacy, a museum here in New Orleans, one of the oldest buildings here in the French Quarter. And it is currently closed for renovations, but on the inside, as far as I know, they didn't shoot anything exterior here. I guess they could have used that alleyway or something like that, but This is where the slave trade building was that was run by Paul Giamatti's character. And it's hard to find screenshots to show you, but I will show you one here so you know what scene I'm talking about. That was all filmed inside of here. It does look exactly the same, so it's unfortunate that it's closed right now. But it's not for any COVID reasons or anything like that. They're just remodeling or restoring everything. Right on the corner here was the actual slave trade building where Solomon Northup was sold after he was kidnapped.
It was the other character. It was the biggest character in the environment because the heat, the sweat, how people moved. People moved the way they did in any other climate. It had to be, in Louisiana, it had to be in New Orleans. I mean, the intensity, the dragonflies, the cicadas. Again, it was this hugest element in the film.
Louisiana is home to a string of plantations lining the Mississippi River between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. They're known as the River Road Plantations, and like other plantations, many of them now make money through guided tours, serving as wedding venues or bed and breakfasts, and of course by renting out their facilities to Hollywood. Our first plantation visit is not on the River Road, nor is it open to the public, just a little bit further south. And when we drove by, the owner was doing some yard work, so we walked up and asked permission to take photos and video. She said yes, and even showed us the inside, which was used for a scene. This is Magnolia Plantation.
Will you truckle at his boot? No. You luxuriate in his favor.
I survive. I will not fall into despair. I will offer up my talents to Master Ford. I will keep myself hardy till freedom is opportune.
12 Years a Slave was done on a bunch of different plantations. And the first one that he goes to after he is sold to the character played by Benedict Cumberbatch, whose name was Master Ford in the movie. This is his plantation. So we're gonna go match up some shots and show you some things from the movie. So in one scene, Solomon comes walking from over here and Benedict Cumberbatch hands him a violin. You can see they've got a screen here now, and I don't think the railing was there. Some things have changed, but you can see, the railing here is the same, and then you can see that in the shot as well. The owner told us that they built the slave quarters for the movie and then took them down afterwards. And you can see them in the background of this shot where Master Ford is giving a sermon right here, and you can see this tree, and that tree before it was cut down.
So I'm not going to show any comparison shots from the attempted lynching scene for obvious reasons, but if you've seen the movie, you're probably going to instantly recognize the tree right here. Solomon's gaining favor with Ford, and that makes Ford's overseer angry, so he starts getting on him about all these little things, and this eventually escalates into a physical fight, and in response, Paul Dano's character hangs Solomon from the tree for hours in a scene that's just excruciatingly long, very tough to watch. And the owner of Magnolia Plantation was telling us that to do that scene, they had to test this stunt rig. They had a stunt man out there hanging from the tree for a week, and apparently that really upset the neighbors. They didn't know what was going on. But in the movie later, after hours and hours, Ford returns and he cuts Solomon down from the tree. He brings him inside the house to protect him from Paul Dano, and all that was filmed here at Magnolia as well. So let's go inside and I'll show you those scenes. So all the plantations in the movie are cotton plantations, but most of these river road plantations are actually sugarcane plantations, and that was the case for Destrehan, which is our next stop. It's the oldest documented plantation in the lower Mississippi Valley. They didn't actually use the home here. They used a vintage mule barn that sits behind the house, which Destrehan rents out for events and things like that. And the executive director was kind enough to unlock the barn and let us see the inside. For 12 Years a Slave, they dressed it up to look like a gin house where they weigh and store all the cotton. And in fact, they packed so much cotton in there that you can still see little bits of it stuck to the wooden beams. Plantation. This is called the Bocage Plantation, and it's shown for a short time in the movie, but we see Solomon run up from this direction up onto the porch to find Patsy, who's having tea with the mistress of the plantation owner, who was a former slave, and they eat right up there on the corner. This is another privately owned plantation, not open for tours or anything, but they were kind enough to let us come here and check out the porch. Here's the corner where Patsy and the other lady were having tea. There's a shot down this direction, I think it was through these actually, that show the plantation owner in the movie. And then from this angle, we see Solomon come up to the porch, and she has him sit down at the table to hang out for a few minutes. In 12 Years a Slave, they did not film the interiors of the Epps plantation in the Epps house, or the Felicity plantation rather, but they filmed it here in New Orleans in this house, which is a privately owned home, and it has been restored on the inside, but the slaves come in and dance in the middle of the night, and when she throws that thing at Lupita Nyong'o's head, that all happened in there.
Woo! Where's your merriment? Move your feet.
And then in there was, I think, a dining room. So this is where they filmed all those interiors.
This is a list of goods and sundries. You will take it to be filled and returned immediately. Take your tag. Tell Bartholomew to add it to our debt.
Yes, mistress.
This is our final plantation visit from 12 Years a Slave, and this is the Felicity plantation in real life. It was owned by Epps in the movie. In real life, Epps, his house was much smaller, but it works better for the movie to be a large plantation. And you'll remember the scenes that happen here in the backyard. You can see all those little structures back there. I wish I could get closer. I'm gonna go ask some people if I can. Here's that back porch where they come out. He chases Solomon all around back here. It's raining on me now, and I don't want my camera to get messed up. My touchscreen on my phone isn't working too well, so I'm just gonna pan around here and see what I can match up. There was a shot done right here where he's confronting Solomon about asking him what he said, and there's a building back there with a green cover on the window, and I believe that was probably placed there to cover up this modern day farm back here, or whatever it is. That is assuming I have the correct angle. So right here is about the angle
where you see him running after Solomon. You can see there was a building. I think it was placed behind this tree, but you can see that this little building right here and that tree in that shot. And you see him jump over a fence and run through there. He slides up on the ground. There's a fence right here. He trips over that. So I was just looking at this shot where he hands Solomon a whip, and that house right there was not there. So I wonder if that's the one that was over here and maybe it got moved. You know, just move a house. So here's where they come and rescue Solomon. And Michael Fassbender, Epps, he comes storming out of the house. So they were working over here. And the cart comes up. They ask him some questions to prove that he's Solomon Northup, and then they take him back to Saratoga, and then she calls out for him. She says, "Platt," and then he runs back, gives her a hug, hops on the cart, and then they go this way.
Thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe if you're interested in more videos like this. You can also follow me on Instagram at CheckerFred or on TikTok at GoingToTheMovies. This was one of the more profound movie location hunting experiences that I've had. And considering the subject matter, I wanted to make sure the video was done respectfully. I hope that it came across that way. I do know it's just a movie, but the story really did happen, and it's important not to forget it. So thanks again, guys, for watching, and we will see you next time.